Good morning, everybody. We are back. It is the Outdoor Cameraman Experience, episode 20. We are at 20, and we have an awesome return guest today, lead Kjos of Kjos Outdoors and new brand manager of Boss Shot Shells. So we have a lot to talk to him about. I am Jess DiLorenzo and my co-host slash partner, Jake Latondras, and we are Latondras Media Collective. How are you doing, Jake?
Oh man, it's been a while. I'm like kind of
I know.
nervous
I had
because
to
it's like this is.
legitimately dust my mic off.
I should probably dust my screen off. This has been a while. We had a difficult time logging in because Lee and I had sort of uh, forgotten our passwords and
It's not like
login
riding a
information.
bike.
No, it's not like riding a bike. It's like doing a podcast. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm happy to be here. I think, it's time for us to re-energize the outdoor cameraman experience. We've got, some other guests already lined up, and we're
hmm
talking to some more that are going to be ever popular on the show. I know for a fact. So I'm looking forward to this spring and summer and getting this going again.
Yeah,
Ready,
definitely.
ready to
Um,
charge forward.
some updates since we've been live with you last. We are now on iTunes. We're rated on iTunes. We have a rating. So you can find this as a official podcast. Just search the Outdoor Cameraman on iTunes, and we're putting up episodes kind of just like every once in a while here to keep it fresh. Lee's previous episode went up last week on iTunes. So you can, if you haven't seen that one, you can watch his first episode either on YouTube or listen on the audio on iTunes. So yeah,
Yeah,
that was
I'm
pretty
pumped
cool.
about. Yeah, I'm pumped about the whole iTunes thing because, we've been getting a lot of requests to do a different platform, to go all audio so people can listen to it when they're driving.
Mhm.
We get all these really great suggestions. So Jess was kind enough to go through all the hard work to separate the audio and video
It
and get
really
that
wasn't that
going.
hard. I'm kind of embarrassed.
Thank you. I'm trying to get you all pumped up here, Jess. But yeah, she was kind enough to get that done for us. So now we're up on iTunes,
Yeah.
and you can see us and listen to us anywhere you want.
Yeah. So we won't be eliminating this version. This will be our official version for now. It's the only way Jake and I get to see each other's faces half the year. So this is our hangout time. But definitely you can subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, and it's kind of like we've got reruns, like it's syndicated. So the old episodes go up every once in a while, and these episodes, these live episodes, immediately go over to YouTube as soon as I can get them uploaded. So you can stay up to date. But
Yeah, and leave comments, leave suggestions, comments.
mhm.
We read them all. We take them very seriously. They're very helpful to us to help make this show better. Guest suggestions, topic suggestions, tips, anything you want to know about that relates to outdoor cameraman experience. Be sure and leave us comments, especially on YouTube and iTunes. And if you want to rate us, then please do that as well.
Yeah,
We love
only give us
five
good ones
stars.
though.
Yeah,
Yeah, don't give us
if you
crappy
can't say
ones.
something nice, don't say it at all, right? That's what my
Exactly.
mom used to tell me.
So part of the reason we've had a little break here is just, I mean, obviously the holidays, but then Jake's also been a man of international mystery, been away
Whew.
for some time doing some outdoor cameramanning in Pakistan. So that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, we went I left January the 3rd. I feel like my kids are all grown up now, and that's one of the regrets about being an outdoor cameraman is, being on the road a lot and traveling to faraway places, but I think since January the 3rd, I went to Pakistan with a client, had an amazing experience there that we'll be able to talk more about in a few weeks. And then I went to Florida and got something going with the KVD, Kevin Van Dam. We're doing a little work together now. I can't really talk much about that, but I'm really excited about that experience. And then what happened? Then I went to Mexico with Ramsey Russell and did a duck hunt down there with him, filmed that whole episode. And then immediately flew back to Georgia for my first
I
Bassmaster
feel
event of
like
the
your
year.
soundtrack to Ramsey's like Mexico thing should be like, if you like pina coladas and
Mm.
shooting ducks in the rain.
No, he found a mariachi version of what is it? A Frank Sinatra song that he really likes. So we're working on getting some royalty right permission to
Nice.
use that as an opening for the Mexico episode. So yeah, a
Soundtracks
lot
are the
going on.
hardest.
Oh,
Ugh,
very difficult.
time
Very
consuming.
difficult. Just
Yeah, what else? Is there anything else major we should catch up on? Not really.
we've got spring turkey season coming up. I'm
Yeah.
going to be spending a lot of time out in Nebraska at Prairie Rock Outfitters, and hopefully you and or Mark both can come
Mhm.
out for a turkey
Mark's
hunt.
my husband, in case you guys didn't know. His name is not Vinny. That's just his Instagram handle. So if you ever meet him, you don't have to call him Vinny. His name is Mark.
Vinny, my cousin Vinny.
Yeah. Everyone's like, who's Vinny?
I think you should go with Vinny.
Vinny. Well, I think without any further ado, we should bring Lee in because it's always an interesting conversation and lots of fun, and that's probably who they're here to see. So let's bring Lee Kjos in. He is the amazing photographer behind Kjos Outdoors, and now he is running the brand for Boss Shot Shells. So let's bring Lee on. Hey, hey.
Howdy.
How are you?
Good.
And the crowd goes wild. What's up, bud?
Welcome home from Pakistan.
Woo! I'm glad to be home finally.
I followed you every day on that. That was awesome following you.
Well, thank you. I was following. Hey, I was following both of you guys, and particularly the Boss Man stuff too, man. You guys are kicking out some freaking awesome stuff.
Oh, it's fun, man. Really fun.
I can't
Yeah.
believe how much service you had over there, Jake. I was kind of expecting to not hear from you at all, but you seem to have some pretty decent connections in and out of some like pretty civilized areas. So it's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. So the military obviously had a big presence there, and they put satellite towers up all throughout the Hindu Kush and Karakoram Mountains. So they would have satellite communications while they were there. So literally, no matter where we were in the mountains, typically we had like 3 or 4 LTE bars of service on our phone, so we could be out in the middle of nowhere and contact people. And ironically enough, I have blackouts here at my house in Fort Collins.
I really liked one of those posts you made where you talked about what the people were like there. Because, most of what us, back in the States here, whenever we hear, like, you think of Pakistan, you think of how the media portrays things like that. And much like everything else, the media is like, whatever. Doesn't seem accurate at all once you're there, does it?
No, I think that's something we had talked about discussing on today's show is how to post, how to dig more into storytelling and cultural experiences, and focus less on the kill and being a hero and the ego behind social media and all that. And one of the things that I definitely found, and that I try to communicate with people now that I've been to Pakistan, to be honest with you, I was scared to death before I left. Not before I left, but anticipating this is the third try for me to go to Pakistan. And the 2 previous attempts, I didn't get my visas because they looked at me ironically like I was media, because I had camera equipment I had to declare and all that stuff. And finally I got through. And having been there now, while the media portrays Pakistan, the people there, as being like, terrorists or harboring terrorists, or, these terrible people that have, ill intentions for the rest of the world, like everyone there is Osama bin Laden. I found it to be contrary to that. Everyone there is more like Gandhi. Like everyone there was, they had their hands full of something to give to you. They offered you, generous invitations into their homes. Everyone drinks chai, tea, and likes to eat food. So there was always this giving atmosphere in Pakistan. So, I encourage everyone to quit listening to the news because it's fake.
Yeah, some of those images that you had sent back to me and that you have posted were just, I mean, they're portraits and they're not doing anything extreme. They're just standing there, but you can just tell like from their faces, and it was amazing to look at those. So thank you for sharing those with us. And I'm sure that everyone will be looking forward to seeing more and more as you post from that trip.
No, you did a great job.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
You were sending me images there. That was good work.
Yeah.
I don't say that to everybody. That's good work.
Well,
that's part of our responsibility there too.
Yeah,
like as someone as lucky as you were to have the opportunity to go in, I mean, you can't just go into Pakistan with all of your camera gear and just start playing around. Like there's a lot of red tape to get through, and to be able to be lucky and have that opportunity, and then to be able to portray your honest representation of what your trip was and your story is awesome. Because like everyone else from here, all we get to see is like what we said, the news. So to see real life is good and a blessing to be able to do.
Well, the connection that we had over there, we had a bit of diplomatic, not diplomatic immunity, but diplomatic. What's the word I'm looking for? We got put in the front line because the premise for us going there in the first place, this trip wasn't just to document a hunt and portray some hero going over to Pakistan to kill an animal. What we wanted to do was do more documentary style work on the conservation, because at the end of the day, Pakistan, people don't realize that Pakistan has the ultimate wildlife management strategy applied at a federal level in their country, because they have so many amazing mountain animals that live at high altitude that were almost extinct at one point. I'm like, a lot of them were. And so what they did was they collaborated with the federal government, the Wildlife Conservation Department there, and the rest of the federal government came together from a tourism standpoint. So what they did was they took the theory that if you want to protect something, put a high price tag on it, and that helps eliminate a lot of the poaching and the things that go on that were detrimental to the species that we're focused on. So they put a high price tag on hunting licenses, and contrary to what CNN or Newsweek or the Wall Street Journal published a few weeks ago about Pakistan and killing of these animals, the truth of the matter is Pakistan put these price tags. They're extreme. They're the highest price tags in the world for hunting and wealth. It's only for the wealthy, and let's just not hide the truth. That's the way it is. But at the end of the day, that's the value that Pakistan gets from it, because the federal government turns 80% of that money over to the villages and communities that exist underneath the populations of mountain goats that we were hunting, and they give them 80% of that money. So they get $110,000 to these communities. They build schools, they build community centers, and they pay the goat farmers off to not poach these other animals. So from like 1977, one of the species that we chased, called the Astor markhor, which had 27 individuals left in the entire population. Now there's over 2,500 of them, and it's 100% funded through the conservation efforts and collaboration with the hunting world to bring the species back. So, and I have interviews, man. I have authentic iPhone interviews with community leaders in these mountain towns that attest to the money that they're getting, and they proved it to me. They took me around and showed me the schools and the community buildings that were being built. So it works, and whatever you see on the news contrary to that is baloney. Sorry, I'm long-winded, but I had to say all that.
No, that's awesome. What actually is going to tie into a bunch of what we could talk about.
Exactly.
I mean, at some point, well, first of all, everybody that knows me knows that I love all wild creatures, and I'm a major conservation fan, right?
Exactly.
I've made some posts about conservation, and I mean, they tank big time. Tank. And I'm like, I don't get it. How can you want to hunt, fish, whatever, do anything we do what we love to do in the outdoors, and not care about the wild creature and where they live first? I just think there's way too much selfish must-haves. And like we talked about when you came home, the narrative needs to change. Mm-hmm. And the narrative, it's got to start with us. So like what you're talking about now, that, like you said, that type of hunt, truth be told, it benefits rich, but it benefits the animal and conservation, but it's something that really only like kind of wealthy people can go do, right?
But it's applicable to a lot of different things. Yeah,
exactly. It's the same thing needs to happen in other areas, right? Like we were talking about, was it yesterday? We were talking about, especially in the day and age of social media, where we got here. I'm going to clear up one thing right now. There's a lot of people that think, well, that's Kjos is crotchety, and he just doesn't like social media. Well, anybody that reads what I write on social media or sees what I post knows that's not true. I love social media. But like everything, there's always give take. There's like what's good, what's bad about it, right? Part of what's not good about it is it has given some a voice and a vehicle where they otherwise wouldn't have earned that before that. So you basically can put out there whatever you want to put out there with no consequence. Well, that media never used to work like that. You either had to be a writer, a photographer, a voice of the outdoors. You had to take out print ads. You had to do all kinds of, but just throwing anything out there. So now what we've created is a bunch of good where you can create awareness, but we also have created a false narrative out there. And in my opinion, this would be cool. Whoever's listening, don't they write questions in or something? Don't they do that? Mm-hmm. This would be a good one for question. What I find crazy is like maybe a week or two ago, I heard a lot of people down in Arkansas, a lot of our buddies are down there guiding snow goose hunts down there, and the snow goose hunting this spring has been maybe tougher than other years, right? And then you get all this grousing from hunters and posting and saying bad things and calling snow geese sky carp and freezer trash and tundra maggots and stuff like that. And I'm like, my God, this narrative has to change. Why does everything have to be about bigger, better, the most, full bag limits? What did it score? All that stuff. That is not for the people. That's the way I look at that. And that's kind of like what you're talking about over there. You move that over here, how sportsmen, hunters, fishermen, people that believe in public land use, fair chase, all that, get together, question everything. That's the first thing. Question everything. And then change the narrative.
Yeah.
What happened? What happened? Because, when I was a kid, my dad was old school, and I've been, he started taking me hunting when I was 3 years old. And when we were out in the woods, man, he taught me to respect, like I had to pluck all my doves. I had to pluck all my ducks. I had to pluck all the geese, and we ate the ribs off the deer. We ate the tongue out of our deer. And so, his narrative at that time was, and it was very real because he came from the Dust Bowl, Great Depression era. And he emphasized, if you're going to shoot it, if you're going to kill it, eat it and respect the game, because this is a privilege. It's not a freebie activity that like we all take this. I think what we're talking about on social media when people post, and I'm not saying it's not okay to post hero shots and things, because we're proud of what we do, and that goes back to our ancestors, that hunters and gatherers, they were proud of bringing something home to the family. So that's part of that DNA. But at the same time, it's like, where did the respect go
I think it's a lot
for?
of lack of effort. People are a little bit lazy. Like everyone thinks you could just throw it in a pan and it's going to taste good. So I mean, I shot my first snow goose this season and I brought that thing home. I ground it up. I added a little pork and bacon into that and made some of the best meatballs I ever had in my whole life. It took an extra couple hours. Yeah, it was harder than just breasting something and throwing it out or just throwing it in the stone row. It just took a little bit of extra time. And I think a lot of it just they either don't know or someone hasn't taught them.
Okay.
So
Okay, so let's say a group goes out and kills, let's just take a random number, 200 snow geese in a day. Okay. And again, I know the conservation season is there to help eliminate part of this population because they're eating themselves out of food and home in the tundra. And I get all that. And what's the average age of a snow goose? Like 16 to 18 years old. I mean, they're very hard to hunt.
They're smart.
So when people, kill a lot of them, they're very proud of it. But then the laziness that I think you just expressed just comes out. Then what are you going to do? You kill
yeah.
200 snow geese. Then what are you going to do?
Well, no
You're
one
going to
thinks the
breast them
big
all and throw them on
picture.
the grill?
Yeah, not on the grill, but if you're gonna go out and you're gonna spend a couple hours to put up your setup and you're gonna spend a couple hours hunting, then you need to prepare to spend a couple damn hours cleaning out those birds, knowing where they're gonna go in your freezer, budgeting if you're gonna send it to a processor. That's
Or
part of
even
it.
finding, what we do around the world with Ramsey, we find, and you can do this. I've done this in South
Yeah,
Dakota and
donate it.
Nebraska. You donate it to people that need it. We have pictures from Mexico when we were down there with Ramsey. We had a big day on the bay, on the Sea of Cortez with Brant, and they were just unusually active that day, and we got into them. And so we had a pile of birds, and the guy we were with, Frank Ruiz, he contacted a native, their native Mexican um, um, natives that live down there in these villages. They're not Mexican, they're natives. And so he contacted the community leader down there and made an announcement to their community that we were going to bring them a bunch of birds. So we roll up there in a pickup truck in a big Ford F-350, with a pile of birds in the back. We dumped the tailgate, and these women, children, and fathers and families came together. There were women carrying like weaved baskets with babies in them, and young boys and girls carrying inflated tires with nets tied into them, fishing, cheap fishing nets around this community. And they
Mhm.
came up, and they were literally grabbing what they
Yeah.
could because they don't have access to those birds, and they were proud to take it. So do what you
Well,
can.
do what you can, but I mean, there's not a lot of places. I mean, you're not going to find where you could just roll up with with a truck full of birds and people are going to scramble to get at them. But if you're going to plan to do that, you need to plan for the aftermath of what you're going to do with that meat, and whether that's donating it to a food shelter, budgeting to send it to a processor, or processing it yourself. That's part of your responsibility as a hunter.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
and at the same time, I think this kind of leads us into a discussion about cleaning up. And again, we're not telling people what to do. We would love to be able to start a new trend to clean our culture up, because we all agree that it's necessary. And I think a lot of people out there that understand the culture and appreciate it and respect it would agree that we need to clean up how we photograph and how we film things, because that's what sends the message out there that gets portrayed by the rest of the world that may be misrepresenting to really what
Mhm.
we do and why we do it. Would
And
you
we
guys agree with that?
Yeah, plus
Cool.
you've got the media already against the outdoor world because they don't want to believe that hunters and outdoorsmen are responsible for the majority of the money going towards conservation. They want to make it look like we have no part in conservation whatsoever, and that by them complaining and protecting animal rights, they're doing all the hard work. So you have to try double hard to get your conservation as a sportsman out there. I mean, it's double hard.
Lee, let's talk about what you guys do at Boss Shot Shows. First of all, you're doing a fabulous job. I mean, and anyone expecting anything less from you is crazy, but you're doing a fabulous job. all your imagery tells a story. There's something very organic and clean and you know and gritty and macho about it too. But I know you have a message that you want to portray. What are you trying to do there?
Well, I mean, first of all, it's like the most fun thing ever to work on and it really is a blast working on it.
Why don't you first tell us what Bosch shot shells is, because in case anyone's not familiar with
it's a shot shell company, shotgun shell, but it's direct to consumer. So what you know what that's like when you take the middleman out or box store markups or whatever that is. What we can do is make the very, very best shell possible and bring it to the consumer direct without any middleman or any crazy markups. Or even the best part for me is no store, no retailer, no anybody coming back at you saying, hey dude, we got to take a couple more points out of this product. And instead of answering to that, some suit at some corporate box store, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to answer to you guys. We're making these for hunters. So,
you're building a relationship with your consumer, for sure.
Yeah, well, and then the other thing about, like, when you talk about imagery or photography or story or the narrative or whatever you're gonna do, right? The number one thing is you have to be authentic and you have to be believable, and that we are. So I'm not saying most people, but a lot of people in the outdoor world have known me or have seen my work for, basically what I'm doing is I'm taking everything I've done my whole life and balling it up into Boss, and it's an absolute blast. I've always, as a designer, a photographer, illustrator, whatever I'm doing, I've always tried to do the very, very best I could do for anybody, any company, anybody, regardless of size of company, regardless of money, regardless of whether there was money or no money. It didn't matter to me. I believe in the process, and I believe in art, and I believe in making everything the very best you can do. That's Boss. That's what it is.
That's awesome.
And so, believing in that, and doing the very best, like you said, I mean, what you just said strikes a chord with me, because it takes me back to some thoughts that I always had. When a big opportunity arises, you look at it and you go, if you believe in a higher being or a stronger power or whatever it is, you believe, wow, I went down in this direction and went through this journey to get here. And now I have all these other skills that I was frustrated with and I grew into over time and made mistakes with. And now you have this opportunity to make it better. And so to make it better, I'm guessing, and knowing you, Lee, too, and what you're doing with Boss, understanding all those things. And one of the I think apexes that you come to in that reality is you respect the game. You respect, like, your imagery and your
first I respect the game.
The actual game, the animal.
The game, the animal, and the process at which you harvest them or you hunt them or pursue them. Because like we talked about yesterday, Lee, I mean, at the end of the day, so you killed 200 snow geese, big freaking deal. I mean, that's great, and I'm happy for you, but it doesn't make you, a bigger person, a better person, or any of that. It only makes you a great hunter for that day, because let's talk about all the days you struggled and didn't kill 200 snow geese.
Yeah, they'll humble you. Yeah, they'll beat you. They'll beat you way more than you get them, for sure.
Exactly. So, and I think, one of the things that we talked about was when you shoot your imagery, you shoot it with authenticity, and your authenticity is appreciation of the colors, the anatomy and physiology of the birds or whatever it is you're photographing, just like you would humans or whatever, and that shows respect. So that one particular image you had of a male shoveler, a widgeon, and was it a green-winged teal or a blue-winged teal?
It's a green-wing.
Green-winged teal was man, I was in Pakistan when that came out, and I looked at it and went, man, wow.
What do you like about
Just
it?
the cut. I liked the processing you did on it was amazing. But I looked at it like, now that is a photograph that represents us and our culture and what we do, because you enhance, I mean, you brought out the colors in those birds, and everything else was in the background, but it still told the story about where you were, what was happening in the scene. But at the end of the day, I appreciated the game, the species, and the animals itself, because you brought those colors out, and they're I mean, what's more beautiful than ducks?
Nothing. Nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
There isn't one male duck when he's tricked out that's not crazy cool. Females too, but the males, of course, get all the
glory. They're the quarter. They're the diva. They're the prima donnas of the hunting world.
girls. They sit back there and do all the work.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, that was a cool post because and that one came out because when you look at regulations, it's like the post was about what they call them, like 5+1 or others, or you know what I mean, like a bonus duck, right? What they mean is anything other than a greenhead.
Right.
Right. Greenheads get all the respect, but those other birds are outrageous too.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I really appreciate about working with Ramsey Russell at Get Ducks is, he's excuse me, he his vision encompasses, collecting species, not just to go kill them and collect them, to tag them, just mark them off your checkbox, but really appreciation of these birds, like the silver teal. He loves those things. And when I was at your home, last year, and I was walking up the stairs to the guest room, I see your big print, your beautiful print of those silver teal hanging halfway up your stairwell, and it stopped me in my tracks because they're so beautiful. So, I'd really like to talk more about, maybe teaching people and educating people on how to shoot photos of their birds or their hero shots or whatever, to help, conceptualize cleaning our culture up and really representing who we are out there. So, let's give some people some advice. What would you tell people, if you were doing a seminar on how to take photos of your hunt, where would you start?
I'd tell them to start well, first of all, you got to keep the animal clean, right? You got to take care of them when you kill them. Keep them nice.
Exactly.
They earned it. The other thing, I think not so much photography, but the old master sporting artists like Winslow and Goodwin and guys like that, right? I think if you look at how they treated hunting and sporting art back then, and you looked at it, I mean, my wife thinks that's what influenced me more than anything on how I photograph. Mm-hmm. An old hunting buddy friend of mine, Bruce, came over one day and he bought this book. It's an old book of all the master artists. It's just, the art is awesome, right? I'm talking from 1800s to maybe Bishop in the 50s, maybe it kind of stops there. So it's old master art. Guys that were great with a pencil, they could paint. They didn't look at a photograph and paint. They're real artists, right? Real art. That's what influenced me as a kid more than anything, because they told stories, right? Mm-hmm. That's what I try to do. I'm not saying I get there, but that's what I try to do. And I'm not sure I've ever got there, but I try hard. So that I would say, if somebody really wanted to look at how to treat, hunt, fish, or outdoor sports like with respect, look at that. Look at how those artists used to like hang birds, and there was, I mean, you know what? There'd be people now today, they go, well, yeah, but that's fake. Nobody does that. Yeah, I don't look at it like that. I look at everything like art. Does that make
Exactly.
sense?
Oh
I
yeah.
look at
A
everything
hundred,
like art.
100%. It is art.
You
I
know,
don't
and
care what anybody says. It's
it's
art.
like those, you would never hang those silver teal out there, and you'd never put that, whatever that green foliage was with those little yellow berries on there. Yeah, but it was awfully fun doing it, and it's art. So that's the way I look at game, like art. So I want to treat them like that.
And you want to snap a shot that represents, I mean, who wants to take a mallard and turn him over and tuck his head under his wing and just take a picture of his white belly? You want to show off the green head, you want to show off the white neck,
Yeah,
the speculum,
yeah,
the white wing bands, all those things,
yeah.
because that's what you appreciate about the animal. And subconsciously it's like, you may not think that you admire this animal, but man, we talked about this yesterday too. How many people, how many years, have you been duck hunting, and how many mallards have you harvested over, 3 or 4 or 5 decades, whatever we've been hunting? And to this day, when a big bull greenhead comes in and say mid-January and he's in full breeding plumage, you just look at it and you go, how many thousands of them have you seen? And you go, God, that's beautiful. And you want to mount every one of them,
Yeah. My wife would look at that and she'd go, it's just like all the other ones. No, this one's
No.
different. No.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Right.
This
But
one
that's the
just is,
message you want to send out to people who don't have the experiences.
Oh.
To like, you want your wife to look at a photo and be like, "Wow, look at that duck!" Like, and everybody else who doesn't hunt, who
Yeah.
you want to understand that message. That's what we want to do.
Do you guys know Alex Langbell?
Mm-hmm.
You
Okay,
bet.
so Sierra's dad.
Mhm.
So Alex the other day posted a picture of, I think it was a dead greenhead or a dead Drake pintail. I can't remember, and he just happened to have an old, that Boss box, the old red box, looks old school, and it looks like one of those old pieces of art that people used to paint of like a rooster pheasant and a mallard, and then there was a bowl of fruit or something. You know what I'm talking about?
Mhm. Oh yeah.
Well, look, I told him, I said, dude, that's good work, man. I said, that's what I'm talking about. That is like treating something with like respect, right? Art.
Exactly.
They're like art. It's, I mean,
So not everyone is a gifted artist. Let's just say that, because it's true. There's a small percentage of people that have, a higher level of natural talent and vision towards art. But at the same time, if we could help people clean their art up on social media, I
yeah,
think it would go a long way, because at the end of the day, I think people that shoot photos of big piles of geese and big, deer and all that stuff, they're proud of it. But, a big pile of geese goes even further, particularly even in your social media and your following and the respect and appreciation people will have for your feed, if you do it well, and if you light it well, and if you clean the birds up and you take care of them and you stack them up properly, and you create a uniform composition for your photo, I think it goes a lot further than just some
right,
barrel or meat wagon full of
It
dead
makes it
birds.
look like you cared.
right.
Exactly.
Well, like we was talking, again, a little while ago, I made a post on behalf of the snow goose guides down south that are, busting their what down there to make things good. I love, and let's face it, we all love those days when we have major success. Like, there's nothing better than a good mash. I mean, they're a blast.
You bet. You
But
bet.
that's not why we go. I mean, it's great when it happens, but that's not what gets me out there anyway. That's what I should maybe speak for just me. That's not what gets me going. So what the narrative that's dangerous is when that becomes the expectation. That's not the expectation. That might be the result of us being fortunate enough to have our way with them one day, right? But I don't think that's what we want to tell. I don't think that's how we want to portray things or show things,
I agree. I mean, even the big pile hero shot is really more about, I look at who you were with. Let's say there's, 50 birds in a pile and there's eight
Mhm.
guys, behind the birds posing. Okay, great, you killed 50 birds, but I'm looking at who you were with. And then I automatically go into this, like envision the experience you guys just had. Like, so I know, let's just say Sierra and Sam Soholt were on a hunt together on the East Coast. I'm like, well, they just had a great experience together, and you can never ever take that away from the person when you have those experiences. So
That
that's really what it's about.
that is it. That's it.
Mhm.
That's it right there. All the other stuff's great, right? But that's why we go. So, yeah.
Did you
Portray
see?
the feelings, not the death.
Did you see that one of the great, highest published images that or series or sequences that got published on the Sitka website or uh, Instagram page was Brandon Feen, one of his buddies who he took duck hunting out in, I believe they were out in Butte Sinks in the Sacramento Valley, California. They shot a mallard, which isn't an everyday occurrence for them, and the kid went out to get it, and there was a freaking band on this greenhead, and the kid just freaked out. He was like, yeah. And Brandon captured it in 2 shots, and they posted that on Sitka's Instagram page, and it got like whatever 20,000 likes on it. And so you look at that and you interpret the interpretation and the emotional context that it had involved in it. That's what people. That's why 20,000 people hit like and another 20,000 people didn't, because they were either jealous or they just don't participate or whatever it is. But you look at that and you go, that's why they did that, because they appreciate that this kid was so, emotionally attached to this his first band ever, and it was an amazing experience more than anything. Right? It was
Yeah.
cool. It
Yeah.
was cool.
Yeah.
So when people let's talk about some photography here. Let's get the light, on your subject. If it's over your shoulder, from the left or the right, you can take backlit shots. They're a little bit more difficult for the more advanced photographers, but even for you beginners that shoot with iPhones or whatever it is, light your subject. Pile your birds up so the sun is on them, and you don't cast big shadows on people's faces, because most of us wear caps, boys and girls alike. We have shadows on our faces. And I like to turn, if you're going to pile and stack them, I like to turn my birds belly up, because typically ducks and geese are lighter colored on their belly. So there's more contrast in the pile, and it
Yep.
gives you that, the opportunity to show off their heads or their
Yep.
feet or their wings or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like the belly too.
Clean them up.
I like to hang them by their feet. I don't, and it sounds weird, but I don't like something around the neck.
What does our buddy Ira say? Dangle them, don't strangle them.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that.
I was talking to Bonnie, my wife, the other day, and I thought you've been in the barn, you know what the barn's like. So I thought, like up in the loft, I was thinking about like maybe contacting Apple and getting a handful of workstations, and then having like a workshop and teaching people how to prop it, light it, shoot it, retouch it, and then print it.
Mm-hmm.
Teach people how to make art. I mean, taxidermy is like really cool, and it is cool, especially when you get like when it's really good taxidermy. But I like art. I like art more than that. So I love to set them up and take pictures of them and make things from that. I mean, it's really cool. I think that would be fun to teach a handful of people that would care,
I mean, people are, go ahead, Jess.
I was gonna say, even just like everyday hunters who aren't, I mean, let's face it, there's plenty of people who are hunting who are not going to be thinking about composing a photo at the end of their of their day. But I mean, even just snapping photos to send out to friends or people who might not understand. And you mentioned taxidermy. Like, you don't send your buck to the taxidermist and expect it to come back with like crusty blood and its tongue hanging out and mud all over the place. Like, clean it up a little bit, make it look presentable. The same as the ducks with your big game animals or your turkeys. Give it a little bit of respect and clean it up, and it'll go a long way. Just sending it out to folks and making it look like you put a little bit more effort into it than just slaying it in a hot minute.
Like Sierra Langville. I mean, she's a taxidermist, and I like watching her. Like sometimes her feed her stories, like how she takes care of things, and that's
yeah, she appreciates it. I mean, she understands. She appreciates it first because of the way she was raised, and secondly, as an artist, she's come a long way as a photographer herself, and she tells a story. She likes to, and she's willing to put herself out there and take risks with, skinned bear skulls or whatever it is. She's willing to take that risk because at the end of the day, she's not trying to be gaudy. She's trying to tell the truth, and she's trying to be authentic. And that goes a long ways in her taxidermy work as well. So, and don't bombard her because she's really busy with all your dead birds in your freezer.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so again, to all the the guys out there, the gals out there that want to make this a better space, clean it up and tell a story. If instead of taking a picture of 50 birds, take a picture of a macro shot of like Nick Sherrod is doing now a lot of macro Monday, and he's doing a lot of that stuff and take pictures, go outside the box and take pictures of things that aren't necessarily conventional or traditional ways of taking photographs. And I think people will find that there's more interest in that.
Yeah, show the details.
I think we've got a screen freeze here, do we not?
I posted a comment by Mike Baker. He said, it's been mentioned several times today that respect not only for the game that you're hunting, but also for the sport itself. When respect is not given to those photos, those posts or videos are used by the anti-hunting community to paint a picture that all hunters act that way, which is totally true. If you post something that can be used as fuel for the fire, man, is that going to explode in your face and make us all look bad.
Yeah, I mean, I think is Lee frozen on your screen? Are you still there, Lee?
Hold on. We'll get him back in.
Yeah. You've got a delay. I think you got a delay there too, Jess.
Technical difficulties. Lee.
Excuse us.
Yeah, I'll tell him to log back in.
Yeah.
So
you've got a delay. You've got a delay on your screen too, Jess.
Technology, you can't control it all.
Where were we at?
I was just reading Mike Baker's comment. Just a synopsis of what we've been talking about. I mean, you got to present yourself appropriately, because when you're not, you're going to get called out on it, and it's just fuel against the whole outdoors space. Yeah,
there just recently we had that. I'm not going to mention any names, and I really don't want to single anyone out, but there was a person that posted a hero shot with a messy toy. There you are.
Black.
Black. Oh, it went black.
Black.
Wow.
I get freaked out. I'm like, oh.
It's the antis.
We're back in black now. It was the antis. They're hacking our show. But we just recently had a very disrespectful post go viral where this person, and again, I don't want to single anyone out, but we talked about it the other day, Lee.
I will.
Okay. Then we're open here. Posted a messy photo of an animal this person harvested with a very filthy and dirty toy in the photo, and for some reason, and again, she claimed to be misunderstood, and there were more facts and content and intention behind the photo besides just that 1 second snapshot. But when she hit send on her social media and posted this photo, it went viral, and it painted a very dark picture and misrepresented the rest of us in the hunting community.
Especially females.
Yeah, exactly. It was very, very disrespectful and dirty. So, if you think it's funny, but you really look at it and you take it seriously as a respectful or disrespectful thing, think again, because it's not funny. You represent everybody in the hunting community, and if you paint a bad light on the rest of us, it's an unfair situation it's a liability, and you're putting us all in that crowd.
Hunting has always been a tougher space to portray something in still or video. I mean, taking a life is different. Like fishing is a lot. You get a fish on a hook, and it can be fly fishing's beautiful, and taking a life and hunting is like a tough thing to portray. If you're gonna change the narrative towards one of being way more respectful towards the game and where they live, I mean, you really have to pay attention to. You got to try to pay attention to what you're doing, and what you're talking about, that thing there, in my opinion, there is no place in our community for that ever. It's inexcusable. It's inexcusable.
Yeah. I mean, and you can't take it back. Once you send a photo, hitting send on social media with screenshotting and as quick as people are now with their buttons, it's like pulling the trigger on a rifle or hitting your trigger on your release on your bow. Once you send it down range, you can't get it back, because there are people. It's exactly. And then again, that misrepresents the rest of us.
Yeah.
Let me see. There was a guy. Oh, Zach.
That boggles my mind. I mean, at somebody, like, that was a pre-planned thing. It's not like it was a spur of the moment. Like you said something quickly, or you made a strange gesture. Like, you brought in props. Like, at what point did I just don't understand that?
No, you just asked me what I thought about if I told somebody, like, very first thing is propping, right? Well, that was propped. Yeah. That's the very first thing you think about.
Yeah.
Right?
It's like a first degree dumbass. I said it.
Yeah.
And Jess, like you said, I mean, and it does. I mean, it's our community you're talking about, right? So when somebody posts something like that, I mean, you're representing all of us. So, yeah, that was bad.
Zach Kellerman, he posted a question earlier about 30 minutes ago in the show that I wanted to address. He said, so how do we as the hunting community get it back to the focus on conservation and get conversation rolling in the right direction? How do we come together as hunters? In my opinion, is just post about it. Just promote it. You don't have to go overboard. You don't have to beat it into the ground. You don't have to beat a dead horse. But if there's something about, like snow goose hunting, let's talk about the conservation and why we have a conservation season. It's not so we can all go out and just massacre birds. It's because they're eating themselves out of habitat. And the worry is that if they continue to become overpopulated, it's inevitable that some avian virus is going to, become mutated within that species and then cross that over to other species in the tundra, because hundreds of thousands of different kinds of birds nest on the tundra up north, and then they disperse all over the globe from the North Pole. So, that's why we have a conservation season. It's not just so we can extend our hunting season so that we don't have a gap between, late goose season and turkey season.
So if that dude, and if I answer this question, right? We have a vote, right? Use your vote. We all have a voice. Now you have a platform to use your voice. Do it. Use it. And then find some conservation organizations that you connect with and you like what they do. They all do good things. Do they all have issues? Yeah, we all got issues.
You bet. Right?
But you got to get involved. You have to. If we don't get involved, no one's going to do it.
Find
Yeah,
one you believe in.
Hmm?
Find one you believe in.
Find one you believe in.
If you don't like something about it, get involved and fix it. Or put some
Yeah.
action towards it. I mean, and as much as we can use our voices on this social media, which is a fantastic tool, social media posts don't change laws. Contacting your representatives, sending in your signatures and things like that, like feet on the ground, is probably the best thing you can do.
Boots on the ground. It does spur conversation, and the conversation needs to be had.
And trends.
I love you guys probably know Donnie Vincent, right? You know what he does. I mean, I love Donnie when he's talking about conservation. That's that people people that use a platform to spur conversation in our community is, and like I said, we all have a vote and we all have a voice.
And Donnie comes from the wildlife and fisheries biology background, which is where he was before he became, Donnie Vincent, the hunter on a bigger platform. He was working in Alaska on a fisheries deal, and that's where he learned to write, because he was writing about what they were doing and how they were doing it and what benefits came out of it, both maybe to the local Inuits or natives in Alaska, and also to the big picture of the salmon industry, but also, teaching and writing about management and how you manage it so you don't over harvest, a species, and then you end up, in a greedy and in a liability situation.
Right.
Everybody has to take so much. You have to understand that you have so much responsibility on your shoulders as a hunter these days. I mean, yes, we've been doing it since the beginning of time, but our privilege to hunt is constantly under scrutiny, and it can be taken away like that, whether you think so or not. And it's a big deal to have that privilege. So you should honor it and respect it, and put out so that your next generation can enjoy it too. I mean, even just the smallest things, as being a kind of a jackass in the rural communities and doing something you think nobody's going to hear about and bragging to your friends. Eventually that gets out and that becomes the story of your region. So how do you want your area of hunting and your hunting community to be represented?
Mm-hmm. And let's talk about big game. We've been talking about birds a lot. When you shoot a deer, it doesn't matter if it's a doe or a little buck, whatever you're proud of, by all means, take your photos. Those are your memories. Those are the things that are going to bring back that experience, 20 years or 30 years from now. Even when you're dead and gone, that's when your kids will remember them and remember you by. So represent, what just happened. Don't just throw the deer in the back of a pickup and take, meat shots of it. I mean, if you want to do that, that's fine. But I say give the animal deserves better than that. Take the time to put it out in the environment that you were in, and highlight the background. Back out a little bit. Take your tight shots. If you want to do that, that's fine. Back out, man, and show the environment where this deer lived and where you were when all this happened, because people can relate to that. And when they relate to that, they appreciate your photo better, and you show respect to the animal and the game that you pursued, because you're giving the whole environment credit for what just happened. So, take the time and set it up, prop it. I mean, when you see something cool when you're hunting, even when a dog brings a bird into the duck blind and the lights on it, you're like, excuse my French, we're like, get the fuck out of my way, man. I got to get my camera. I'm like, I just missed something that, damn it.
Goes away quick, doesn't it? Huh?
Yeah, it goes by really fast. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You brought something up that it just jogged my memory. It's another, those people that know me close know that I get on something and I rant. I rant on it. Big game is we were talking about this the other day we're talking about shot shells, right? Quality of shells. Why people are so willing to just go pick a gun off a rack, buy the cheapest shot shell they can buy, and go hunt ducks with them, right? If you draw a sheep tag or you're getting ready to archery hunt deer, I mean, what do? You practice. Mm-hmm. You get dialed in, right? the bow's tuned, the arrows, the broadhead, they're dialed in, right?
Preparation.
Going to sheep hunt, they're dialing that scope in. They're ready to go, right? Where do you draw the line? Why don't small game critters get that same amount of respect? I just read a story the other day of all ducks shot at in a year, 25% are lost due to crippling. So somewhere between 3.4 and 3.7 million a year are lost. So again, at Boss, I want people to shoot really good, affordable shells, clean kills or clean misses, right?
There you go.
That to me would be a huge thing if I could start a movement there. I was talking to Brandon, he's the other owner of
a hashtag in your branding future there.
What's that?
I see a hashtag in your branding future.
Come up with that and send it to me because I just forgot.
Clean kill, clean miss.
Yeah. Well, think
like
about
aim
it,
small,
right?
miss small.
Right? So, I mean, part of designing these shells is to make them really good, make them best, make them affordable, and then make short shot strings, not big, long shots, short ones that hit. They either hit or they miss, right? So like we were talking the other day and I said, somebody brought up the word revolution and I'm like, no, it's not really a revolution because nobody's revolting against anybody. Not that this country can use a revolution, but
Not yet.
This isn't it. But it is a movement. And if we could start a movement like that, oh man, nothing would make me happier to do that. We could reduce crippling by, again, just like we talked about earlier in the show, by changing the narrative, and this is why you do it. Wouldn't everybody like that? Wouldn't everybody like to be a more effective hunter, better at harvesting, not blowing and ripping birds apart, or just good, clean kills or clean misses? Oh, nothing would make me happier than that.
I think you mentioned that yesterday, Lee, about people asking for 3.5-inch shells, and your message and the culture that you're building at Boss is not about a 3.5-inch shell. It's not about a 60-yard shot. It's not about having, I mean, you guys are packing a load into a 2 3/4 and a 3-inch shell that, and Ramsey talked about this in Mexico. It was just he and I in conversation, no promotional deal going on. He turned around, looked at me and goes, "Did you see that?" And he's like, we don't have cripples. And like you said, it's either a clean miss or a very effective clean kill. And that's what you're after. I mean, who really wants to, let's face it, I mean, even after, 40 plus years of duck hunting, when I have to take a cripple and dispose of that cripple, I don't feel good about it. I don't care what anyone says. When I see someone else doing it against a tree or a boat, it's like, oh God, please don't do that to me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I took my 29-year-old daughter, went duck hunting for the first time. I was in Saskatchewan early this year, and I get a text message from her, and she's like, "Dad, I want to go duck hunting." And I'm like, well, if you guys knew Gertie, you'd be like, you got to be kidding me, because Gertie's like an animal, like lover off the chart, right? And I told her, I said, well, I'll take you duck hunting, but you got to be ready for duck hunting. And sometimes part of duck hunting is the unfortunate part that you talked about. Like, are you going to be able to handle seeing a cripple? Are you going to be able to, and there's some of that stuff's not pleasant to look at, right? Well, but she did good, really good actually. But that to me is a big part of Boss's mantra, is like the clean kill, clean misses, making shells the way shells used to be made back in the old school days of lead, really like premium components, everything's the best. And Brandon back at the shop, when he's making these, I mean, the dude's a freak. I mean, he's like a mad scientist with this stuff, right? And they're never going to get worse. That's what I'd love the consumer to know. The product will never get worse, like most things in our culture. And nothing's going to be a race to the bottom. They will only get better. That's it.
Because you're building a relationship direct with your consumers, and you're listening to people, and you're making those modifications and growing as you develop and evolve, right?
We answer to you. Brandon, he's the guy that came up with that when he goes, I'd rather answer to 5,000 bossmen than answer to one suit. And that's the truth. That's the truth. We'll answer to you guys. So,
awesome.
Yeah. So let's change the narrative. Let's do that.
Make an effort, people. Like, do your part,
right?
And it starts with how you present yourself as a representative to this culture on social media. Like we said, social media doesn't change legislation. It doesn't do things at the White House immediately. However, it does start trends. Trends start evolutions, and evolutions turn into legislation, because the more people that get on board, the bigger the voice and the larger the picture becomes, and the more important it becomes to society. At the end of the day, when it becomes important to society, that's how you get things done. Is that not right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Movement. Start a movement.
That's right.
It turns into a revolution. Really cool.
Hey, if it turns into a revolution, I'm coming to your house and getting a bunch of Boss shot shells.
We're gonna hole up in that barn. You'll be like Walking Dead out of your barn.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, so last time we talked, if you remember, we were going to get together and duck hunt.
Yeah, we didn't.
What happened?
We're going to. You know what happened? We are busier than our desires. We're busier. Our busyness overcame our desires, and unfortunately, I let that get in my way, because I had an overlapping situation that I had to go to cancel our duck hunt, Lee. But we do have it scheduled. We've got a turkey hunt scheduled.
Yeah.
We've got a duck hunt scheduled, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Hey,
and just getting out and hanging out. Hey, your invitation's there.
Well, yeah, I'm going if I can. But I was just going to ask, is there a boss option for turkeys? What's the boss turkey?
Well, we just, I don't know, like a week or so ago, we just came out with a load called Boss Tom. It's really, isn't that a cool name, Boss Tom?
Nice.
Clever, right? That's clever. Yeah, it's our introduction into the tungsten world too, which is like super cool, because now we can have other products fall in line with that. And again, it's fantastic shot, powders, best cups, best buffering. I mean, just
these will come in 2.5 or 2 3/4 and 3-inch shells.
They're 3-inch, 12 gauge 3-inch and 20 gauge 3-inch right now, but we'll add to the line. But man, those patterns are just like, yeah, but we'll bring them with. Yeah,
I just saw a whole field with shredders this morning. Like, the field is icy and they're out there shredding already. And Pennsylvania starts so late. Got me all jazzed up this morning.
Yeah. There's another thing about, like, you're talking about Boss Time or whatever is new. Yeah, for me, the most fun in all of it is the process. And that even comes down to, like, the art on the box. How do you make a box? How do you come up with identity? How do you come up with pieces of identity that can turn into apparel that help you push your message, right? I mean, It's super fun. So there's this dude, his name's Jeremy Tepp. He's a really, really good, really talented illustrator. And like, if you look at like a Boss original logo, you'll see those skulls, those laughing kind of duck skulls. Well, I needed a turkey lockup done, and Jeremy's perfect for this. So I get on the phone and I talk to him and sketch some things up and tell him what I want. And so I love the process of the whole thing. Brandon's down there working on the shell with the exact same type of, I don't know, degree of freakness,
Precision,
right? Just like everything,
microscopic detail.
everything is important. It's, if somebody said, what is it? Like it's paying attention to the details, right? And you brought it up yesterday. We were talking about the box, our first generation box, the early ones, when they get wet, they come apart easy. And like, I really want the consumer to know, if we ever do something that's not best, we're going to fix it or tweak it until it is best. And now this like new Boss Tom box that came out is this beautiful hard brown fiber board with soft touch, spot gloss varnish, and embossed logo. I mean, all of it. It's just, that's
Nice.
If we treat a box like that, we're going to treat everything like that, including the consumer.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how you succeed. I mean, you pay attention to detail.
All made in the U.S.
There you go. Red, white, and blue. So you pay attention to detail. You understand teamwork. Everybody's got Jeremy's got his job.
You're going to have your job. We
have our job.
Yeah. You get a job, and you get a job. You get a job.
And everyone plays an equal role, because it's all important. And when you pay attention to detail, and you understand that things aren't always going to come out perfectly, and you just improve as you evolve, that's how you succeed. You're not going to, some people win the lottery. They didn't really succeed. They got lucky. To succeed, you do what you guys are doing at Boss, and you pay attention to detail. Make it right.
Pay attention to the customer. What do they need? We talk about this a lot. If somebody said, what does the Boss brand embody? My head keeps coming back to value, real value. But I don't like the word because of what the Walmart mentality of the world has turned value into really
cheap,
like an issue word, like not good, right? So that's not that at all. For us, what it is major value when you factor in like quality and price, right? Because it's direct, right? So that, I mean, it's just, it's just they're great value. Fantastic product. Blast to work on. Most fun I've had in years working on something.
Well, you're doing an awesome job. I mean, it's ubiquitous already. It's a very young company, but you guys have grown by leaps and bounds because
almost 6 months now, I think. 6 months
that you launched it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I see it everywhere. The people that are involved are great people. Everyone's real. There's so much authenticity behind your brand. I mean, again, people, this is the model. I mean, this is how you do things the right way. And obviously everyone appreciates your work, Lee, and how you go about things and how you execute and accomplish things. But, now we're seeing it in your own hands, in your own sweat equity, and your own blood, sweat, and tears. You're finally giving it back to yourself, and well, congratulations.
I have a lot of help. There's a lot of good people that are help. A lot of good people. Can't do anything by yourself.
No, there's always a teamwork.
Oh yeah, you can't do anything good by yourself. There's a lot of people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, here we are. Have we gone past our time?
We've gone a little far, but it's all right.
Yeah, it was an interesting conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When are we going turkey hunting?
In late April.
I'll bring my shells.
Yeah, you come to Nebraska. We'll take care of the birds, and you bring the shotgun shells. And
I'll photograph.
I'll cook them. Well, I want to shoot them too, but I'll
get out of my way, Lee. I'm taking that shot.
All right, you can photograph. All
right. Well, thank you so much for your time, Lee. And
Thanks for having me on anytime.
yeah,
Awesome.
that
It's
was
good
cool.
catching up
Do
and
it
also
again.
hearing everything about Boss, and it's always great discussing your opinions and what your experiences and how they apply to the topics that we're covering. So I know this will be a good show. People loved your first one, so
How do we get to Boss? How does everyone get to Boss?
BossShotShells.com.
all right.
Pretty easy.
And it's at Boss Shot Shells on
IG.
Instagram, and then you have a presence on Facebook as well.
Yes.
Yep,
Yeah.
look them up. It's the real deal, just like Lee.
Thank you.
Thanks, brother.
Thank you.
All right. You have a
Talk
good
to
one.
you soon.
Bye.
I think I cut him off there. So, am I still on a delay? I feel like I am.
Yeah, you are a little
Well,
bit.
sorry about that, everybody. You just have to wait a little bit longer to hear what I say.
It's about 3 seconds, but it's good to be back in studio with you, Jess. That was a good show. I think it was a little bit different, but I think it was very relevant, and it's an important, I think maybe even one of the most important shows that we can do about being an outdoor cameraman, outdoor photographer, videographer, whatever it is. Show the game respect. I mean, that's we, I mean, we represent an entire culture, and I think it's really important that we clean this up and get it straight. And we don't always have to think alike, but let's try to unify what we're doing. And through your photography and your writing and your content, if you show respect, I think it's going to go a long way.
If you're going to put it out there well. There's no need to slack on it. Do it right.
If you have questions and you don't know how to do something, or you want to know how to do something, by all means shoot us a DM or a private message on Messenger or Instagram, or email us, or post on YouTube or iTunes now. Let us know what you're thinking. If you have a question and you don't want to ask it live, by all means shoot us a question. We'll answer it the best that we can. If we don't know the answer, we'll try to find it for you.
Definitely. So we'll wrap this up here. You guys can catch this episode on our YouTube channel shortly. It's youtube.com/outdoor cameraman experience. And then eventually you will find it uploaded on YouTube. So we'll be catching up on our episodes there as well on the podcast. So you can listen in the car or listen at work, wherever you guys stream your podcasts. You'll be able to get our voices in there now.
So you doubled up on YouTube. Where do we find iTunes?
Oh, sorry, iTunes. You just search Outdoor Cameraman Experience on iTunes, and it's right in there with all those outdoorsy podcasts, which is awesome. So we're in the zone.
All right. So are we gonna try to schedule a turkey hunt there, Jess?
Yeah. I want to get back out to Nebraska if I can. You're always welcome back east. We've got some birds I already know where they're living, so hopefully they'll hang around, and it should be a good one.
Very good. Well, maybe we can schedule a visit with you and bring your husband, your daughter, bring your whole family, and maybe we can schedule it to coincide when Lee's out there. He's going to be out there in late April, so maybe we should all get together and make a party of it. Create the experience, right?
That'd be awesome.
All right.
Well, see you later, Jake.
Bye, Jess.
Bye.